The first Earth Day was in 1970, just 8 years after Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring sparked an environmental movement in America. I came across the CBS newscast from that day.
This is a CBS News special, Earth Day, a question of survival, with CBS News correspondent Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. A unique day in American history is ending, a day set aside for a nationwide outpouring of mankind seeking its own survival. Earth Day, a day dedicated to enlisting all the citizens of a bountiful country in the common cause of saving life from the deadly byproducts of that bounty, the fouled skies, the filthy waters, the littered earth. As a demonstration, its success was mixed, beyond expectations here, far below there. No one now.
Seems like so much has changed, and yet at the same time it seems kind of quaint when climate change dwarfs all other environmental problems today. The Earth needs protection and advocacy all year long. But on this one day, tomorrow, people roll up their sleeves and do something tangible. We check out one effort along the Ausable River on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Essex County Arts Council, promoting arts and culture through advocacy and grants to artists and organizations. More at essexcountyarts.org.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Friday, April 21st. First up, New York's beleaguered redistricting commission took a step forward last week in developing a bipartisan consensus on new state assembly maps. WSKG's Von Golden explains.
New York's Independent Redistricting Commission has, for the first time, voted to fulfill its mission and send a map for new assembly districts to the state legislature for approval. The panel deadlocked on approving maps in 2021, leading the legislature to draw its own maps. After a series of lawsuits, congressional and state Senate maps were redrawn by a court, but the assembly ones were returned to the Redistricting Commission to do over. Ken Jenkins now chairs the commission. He was one of several commissioners who praised the process actually working this time around.
This vote is ultimately a victory for the commission process and for the democratic small d participation in the state of New York.
The assembly maps themselves aren't really much of a change from the ones currently in place. They now head to the legislature and the governor for final approval. In Vestal, I'm Vaughn Golden for North Country Public Radio.
Work is underway in the town of Clayton along the St. Lawrence River to make the village less susceptible to flooding. According to a press release from the governor's office, the project will fix about 480 feet of shoreline in Clayton. The village has been hit by heavy winds and high water levels in recent years. The project will lessen the impact of future floods in Clayton, making it safer for tourists and local business owners. The project was awarded $4 million in grant funding from the Lake Ontario Resilience and Economic Development Initiative. Tomorrow is Earth Day. There are events happening across the North Country, including along the Ausable River in the eastern Adirondacks. You can help clean up the banks of the river tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Kelly Tucker is the executive director of the Ausable River Association. She spoke with our Adirondack reporter Emily Russell about the Earth Day cleanup event and their broader years-long effort to restore the Ausable River to health.
We've been conducting these roadside cleanups probably for more than 20 years at this point, and they are an incredible service. At the end of the winter, as the snow melts, for one reason or another, there's just an amazing amount of trash along the roadside. Anything from paper cups and pieces of paper and cup tops to fenders from cars. It's sometimes amazing. Part of that is simply because trash is getting loose. Part of it is the water moving through those roadside stormwater systems, sometimes move things, pick things up with snow. So we get those out of the way. It certainly makes the area more beautiful, and it certainly keeps a lot of trash from getting out of our streams and the rivers. And people love it. It's something palpable that we can do, that we can see, makes the watershed a greater place for people to visit and enjoy.
A lot of your work focuses on river restoration and not just, fixing certain culverts or places that have eroded over the years. Why take a more comprehensive and I imagine more expensive and time-consuming approach to restoring the Ausable?
In the long run, yes, it is more time-consuming, but it is less expensive. That's our bet, right? So we started actively thinking about repairing long-standing damage to the river about 13 years ago, before Tropical Storm Irene. And we would do spot repairs. We would find symptoms of damage. We'd try to identify the cause upstream, and we'd repair it. And we can care for that adaptively. And most of that work was very smart. But it became increasingly obvious to us that there were upstream and downstream impacts with every change. So what we started thinking of is an assessment of a system, the East Branch system or the Lower East Branch. You want to look at it as a whole, and you want to understand, where is it working? Where is it functioning? Where has it healed itself? Where is it not capable of healing itself because we've encroached on it? We can't make it perfect. We don't stop flooding. But we can think more comprehensively about, if we look at a 12-mile stretch of river with its tributaries, and we spend the year it takes to do the science to understand why it works, where it's working, where it doesn't work, then we identify, as we have done for the lower half of the East Branch in the town of Jay, we identify those 13 projects that we know if we get those done, we're going to see ecological uplift. We're going to see sort of an economic foundation for people to see more predictability in how the river responds. And in general, we're just going to see aesthetically a more pleasing river.
I wonder what your personal relationship with the river is.
My husband and I moved here in 2009, so we don't have that depth of knowledge. I grew up at the confluence of the Mississippi and the Missouri, so rivers have always been just a fascinating topic for me. I've always watched them. I have a tributary of the East Branch Ausable River in my backyard. I quote unquote own it. I visit it every day. It's a source of solace. It's fascinating to watch. During Irene, it was as big as a section of the Hudson I'm familiar with in North River. And I spend a lot of time on the East Branch, which is a 1 mile walk for me. I drive to the grocery store along the West Branch. So they're really just constants. And I know that my neighbors love them and sometimes fear them. I was here when Irene inundated the hamlet of Upper Jay and the hamlet of Ausable Forks and Keene, oh my goodness, and Keene Valley. So I helped my neighbors clean up after that. I developed friendships out of that. And in many ways, the reboot of the Ausable River Association came out of that. So yeah, the river's a constant. It's a pleasure for me, but I also know it can be a fury.
That was Kelly Tucker, Executive Director of the Ausable River Association, speaking with Emily Russell. If you're interested in helping with the roadside cleanup along the river tomorrow, they're meeting at the Wilmington Town Beach at 9:30. Cleanup is from 10 to 1. We have more news all the time and through the weekend on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by I Am Snow Angel of Lake Placid and Martha Gallagher of Keene. Have a super Earth Day weekend. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.